An amazing thing happened this Christmas week. A miracle, really. A wolf and a bobcat went boating together. Together. A wolf and a bobcat went boating together. Yes, a canine and a feline. They were very good friends and they got along great. They saw water and trees and fancy houses. One day they were sitting at the table, waiting and wishing for something to eat. It was breakfast time. Suddenly a miracle happened. Dropping from the sky was a strange package, and it landed right in the paws of the wolf. I'm not kidding. He took it to the table and opened it up, and there before him was a delicious serving of catfish. It was hot and cooked and ready to eat. The bobcat didn't even like catfish, but the wolf explained that he was out of his mind. Catfish is fluffy and white and delicious. And whoever heard of a cat that didn't love fish? So he convinced the bobcat to try it, and guess what? Bobcat loves catfish. He even took a picture of it. They happily gobbled up all they wanted from that one package, and there was so much food left over that it made catfish sandwich the next day. Here is the true story of the catfish miracle. On the third day, we were sitting down to breakfast when a boat approached. A lone man motored slowly to our shoreside as I stumbled over roots and trees to greet him. As he neared the shore, he said, "He catch," and tossed a package my way. Inside the plastic bag was something warm and soft. "Enjoy some fresh hot catfish with your breakfast," he declared. Perfect timing. "God bless you," I shouted as he turned to motor down the river. What else to say? His name was Randy, and the catfish nuggets he delivered that morning were maybe the best I've had since my mother passed away. God rest her soul. Until that morning, on the final day of camping, I had no idea what I would talk about this Sunday. Bob, seriously, had said to me, "Don't worry, something will present itself." And lots of things did. Turtles, birds, a little rain, even some fireworks in the distance one night. But I had no idea the Sunday inspiration would come in special delivery. It might be a miracle. Just like the loaves and fishes of the Jesus story, Randy made the catfish fall out of the sky, out of nowhere, just when we needed it, sitting down to breakfast. Let me tell you how it came to pass. It started on our first night camping on the Santa Fe. It was after dark. Bob and I were sitting in our isolated spot up on the bank, away from everyone. No houses in sight. The air was fresh and breezy. The night was full of peace. It was Christmas Day. We had our small log cabin campfire. Some of you will recognize that. Blazing, and our tents pitched on the little ridge beside us. We light our fires when it has gotten good and dark, and keep them burning until 10 p.m. at least. 11 preferred. Any earlier, and we are waking up too soon before the sun has even shown up on a winter morning. Round about 8, 9 p.m., we saw some spooky lights approaching from downriver, playing tricks over the water and in our imaginations. We watched for a long time, wondering aloud the meaning of this show. In the darkness, lights take shape and often appear to move when you stare at them, even when they are not. We finally determined that they were indeed on the water and approaching our position, silently. Eventually, we could hear the splashing and could make the shape of a lone paddler moving against the current, plying the far shore and sweeping with a strong light. The deck of the small boat was lit as well, and we could tell it was a canoe. Although our fire was strong, the person never seemed to look our way, but slipped up on the river, finally passing out of sight. I might add, the water level on the Santa Fe right now is very low. We navigated shoals and rapids in the 8 miles that we covered on that first day. Paddling upstream at night in those conditions is unusual. It made for great entertainment as we pondered what it meant. You see, I'm trying to keep the boat going and film at the same time. What were they looking for? Something lost? One of the 20 or so freshwater springs along that stretch? You're looking here at Jenny Springs coming out to Santa Fe, pouring out its 38 million gallons of water a day. Were they hunting alligators? Surely not in a canoe. Even I wouldn't be that crazy. The lights passed out of our vision and before long, out of our thoughts. We poked the fire and talked about 100 other things as we soaked up the night. Then, as quietly as it had come, the boat was back. Again it moved in silence on the far shore, and off it went downstream into the mystery of our imaginations. Day 2. We have pitched our camp in time to take an afternoon nap. We are setting up for dinner when another boat approaches. This one is a flat-bottom John boat with an outboard motor. This time on our shore. The man engages us in friendly conversation. He's a local, a fisherman. He puts out lines and baits them, hanging from tree branches near the water's edge. He says he checks them every day for catfish. "Oh," we say, "was that you that we saw last night, 10 miles up the river? Checking your lines, no doubt." We never thought of that explanation. Suddenly, very interested in our story, he said that someone had been cutting his lines out of the trees. He lost 9 of them the day before. What did the boat look like? What time did it occur? Where exactly were we? He wanted to know. We didn't think we had a lot to offer, but he smiled and said, "I think I know who it is. I reported it to the game warden today, and he's coming out tomorrow." Then he moved on off to check his baits, and I called out, "Hey, sell me one of your catfish and I'll cook it up for breakfast." He didn't seem to hear me over the sound of his own motor, but later he returned on his way back and thanked us once again and asked a few more questions. Then he asked, "What time do you move out in the morning?" "Tomorrow I'm going to bring you fresh, hot catfish." And now you know the rest of the story. In a sermon delivered in March 2008 to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Cleveland, the Reverend Colin Bosson writes, "The loaves and fishes story is usually interpreted to highlight Jesus' miracle making. His special relationship with God allows Jesus to turn the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish into enough food for everyone. Jesus prayed and God worked magic through him. A miracle occurred, and a meal that was meant for a dozen was turned into so much food that even 5,000 people could not eat it all." Like all stories in the Bible, he said, there's more than one way to interpret the loaves and fishes. Another way is to suggest that in it Jesus performs a far greater miracle than the transformation of 5 loaves and 2 fish. Instead of working miraculous magic, he taught everyone present to share. The Reverend Peter Friedrich said, "When we look at our lives, at the world around us, and consider the future, we have a tendency to sort our thoughts into categories. Is something real, or is it an illusion? Is it possible, or is it impossible? Could it have happened, or was it made up? Can we do it, or can we not?" The story of the loaves and fishes highlights this. You have demonstrated it this morning. Many people think that's impossible. It could never have happened. But, said Reverend Peter, what if we suspended our disbelief? How would we hear the story differently if we simply lived in the possibility? Just like when we're trying to figure out how the magician does the trick. When we focus on the perceived reality of a situation, we miss out on the experience of the event and the meaning of the moment. We miss out on the fun. Reverend Friedrich said, whether Jesus actually fed 5,000 hungry people with 5 loaves and 2 fish, or whether it was some grand illusion performed by a master magician, is irrelevant. The story of the loaves and the fishes is a story of the victory of faith over fear. The disciples thought they would have a riot on their hands if they were unable to feed the hungry horde. They were convinced that the needs of the people outstripped their resources and capabilities. Send them away, they urged Jesus. We're a bunch of fishermen in the middle of a desert, and we don't see a way out of this predicament. Bob and I never would have imagined, sitting alone on the edge of wilderness, that a man would deliver a catfish breakfast like some nautical Uber Eats. But when he told us he was coming the next day, both of us were certain it would happen. We could sense that he was genuine and kind, honest, and just a good old guy. Friedrich said Jesus showed his followers that it was their vision that was limited. He showed them that unknown possibilities exist beyond our horizon. The story of the loaves and fishes is a lesson in moving from a mentality of scarcity, where we believe that there isn't enough to go around and that many must go hungry, to an attitude of abundance, where all our needs will be met and where all things are possible. And I wouldn't be surprised if those loaves and fishes turned out to be catfish sandwiches. Amen. So may it be.